Hi, my name is Tesney. Today, let's talk about 7.0. Astrologian is slated for a redesign in 7.0, and honestly, I'm surprised it didn't happen for 6.0. Getting an overhaul every expansion is a core part of the class's identity, perhaps more so even than the cards. Shortly after 6.15-ish, I abandoned Astro for White Mage, but that sounds worse and far more simplified than it was. I tried out White Mage after they fixed the lilies. I enjoyed it, but I was daunted by the logs. My first ever half-assed attempt at White Mage for P1S, a mediocre green log at best, was right smack between my two best ever runs on Astro, which were blue for damage done. I had to ask myself, am I doing what's best for the group by staying Astro? Because if I can practice my way into a stronger White Mage, then I would be doing a lot more damage, and it's more forgiving. Not only is it a better best case scenario, it's also a less awful worst case. If I'm having an awful night, my performance will suffer on any class, but bad Astro is worse than bad White Mage. The floor and ceiling for Astro are extreme. I started doing Uwu, and I was scared to learn my first ultimate on the fussy high maintenance class. Is it silly? Definitely. But there's at least once a night we pull, and while I'm eating the cleave and running out of the NATO, I think to myself, man, I'm so glad I don't have to worry about Divination, the third card, and Astrodyne all right now. I didn't quit Astro, but it's a class that I only use circumstantially. I don't like dungeons as Astro because there's more cards than there are people I want to play them on. Even if I nail the opener on the first pull, those cards stay poorly aligned through everything else. Same with Arcana. Anything less than a structured fight isn't enough structure for Astro. I don't like how that feels. This is a major complaint of mine, but I don't know that it's actually broken. Support classes, by their nature, struggle with being underwhelming or incomplete in some situations while being perfectly suited for others. It's not like Astro is actually unplayable either. The healing kit is strong and fun and shiny, but my enjoyment of cards plummets when I can't play them the way I know I'm supposed to. But do I actually know how to fix cards? No. What I love as a band-aid is 8 more buttons. 8 more buttons? Yeah, like I said, band-aid. The last thing Astro needs is more buttons, let alone 8 of them. But here's the thing, unless there are less cards to play overall, our burst windows will always look exactly how they do now, which is 15 seconds of chaos every 2 minutes. And after really thinking about what I would like in that 15 seconds of chaos, I feel like the actual quantity of abilities we use is fine. It's still a lot, yes, but the clunky part of the opener is not the abilities or the rotation, it's the party list. I can't speak to keyboard and mouse play, but on a controller, navigating party list is the worst. It's possible. It's doable. I have seen people successfully double weave selecting a player on the list. I have only respect for you. I can't do it reliably enough for my tastes, especially not 3 times in a row. My workaround solution is macros that put cards on players by their position on the party list. Macros have their own mess of problems. My UI is bloated. But one thing that works for me is having a button for each DPS, including a downshift for light party. What doesn't work is the timing, inconsistency, and general unreliability of macros in combat. In my opener, the bulk of my mental energy goes into making sure that each card gets executed. Not who gets it, or when, not Divination, not Astrodyne, not Lord of Crowns. Just making sure that I'm either fast-tab targeting to the right player in time to double weave, or executing a finicky macro in the window of approximately half a second. That is what exhausts me about Astro. It's selfish of me, but if I could just have my current UI, but without the macro tax, that would solve 90% of cards for me. A direct play to specified player would make choosing the player the most important aspect of playing the card. And that's how it should be. But obviously it's not a perfect solution, and that doesn't touch the problem of minor Arcana and Crown play, which feels pasted on as a last-minute, low-effort response. What about if using play enacts some sort of auto-draw if there's a stack available? 2 draw-play double weaves of every burst window could become single weaves, which would provide almost a whole second of breathing room to select a player for that card. There are problems with that as well, with making it clear when a card has been played and having the gauge update and fill itself again, and making sure that a card can't be double played accidentally, and sometimes draw is laggy enough to find out which card I got, and this could make it all worse. For a card redesign, I can only see 2 approaches: making the amount of cards we have easier to play, or to neuter the amount of cards. I'd rather the first, obviously. I like how attuned Astro is to the overall DPS burst cycle. I love burst windows. I like being connected to what other players are doing. I like being a buff bot. I like staying busy. I love the heart of astrologian. I often joke that Astro is way too busy, that White Mage isn't busy enough, and that Scholar is the perfect amount of busy. But honestly, if I could get rid of the mental load of party lists and macros, then Astro might also be a wonderful amount of busy. I also think Scholar and Sage are too samey, while Astrologian and White Mage aren't samey enough, so maybe I'm just being difficult. I do, however, strongly hope for no major changes to Astro healing. The healing kit is bloated, but the feel of having so many abilities builds the feel of Astrologian juggling so many fates and possible outcomes all at once. It's basically a problem I want to have. At best, I'd like to see neutral sect redesigned, dropping the sect aspect thematically because that's not a thing anymore anyway, and also have its core mechanics revisited for a resto-only Astro. I also want this buff to give us something beyond buffing aspected spells, so it's worthwhile to use even when we don't dip into direct healing. Same with horoscope. I'd really like to see it decoupled from Helios and spellcasting. Unless we are given shields back, yeah right. In which case horoscope, Helios, and neutral sect serve as necessary functions for shield healers who dip into direct healing shields more often than resto healers. These abilities were stronger in Nocturnal sect than they ever were in Diurnal, and now Nocturnal is gone. Our kit needs to reflect that. Synastry. Oh, that still exists, doesn't it? I've given up hope on it ever becoming worthwhile, but I would love to be surprised. This is yet another ability that requires a direct heal to be cast, and only really works for one spell, and only in a handful of situations. Please, we need to see this decoupled from direct healing, whatever that works out to be. Lightspeed is an amazing ability, but I resent that it's completely tied to the burst window. It's a 90-second cooldown that we deliberately sit on, and it's not a utility since we're basically using it to survive the opener. Mostly it feels like a band-aid for cards instead of a mobility or burst healing tool, which it could totally be if we had a shorter cooldown and charges. This isn't my idea, but it's a darn good one. The list of things I do not want touched is far longer. Essential Dignity is perfect, so is Earthly Star. Collective Unconscious, Celestial Intersection, Celestial Opposition. Not only are they beautiful, powerful, the cooldowns line up in most fights, and they make for a wonderful co-healer. Astros are fun to heal with. They are fun to have in a party. Everyone loves having an Astro in the party. It should be popular as hell. Something is definitely broken because the prevailing comments people make about why they don't play Astro is, I love the healing, ... but cards. And that's why I'm critical of things that don't work for me, because there are a million things that do. I love Astro, and I'm a bit concerned that the rework won't get the resources it needs, but I want to be optimistic because so many classes have gotten so many wonderful changes and upgrades. It's definitely possible, and I hope it's in the cards for Astro. Thanks for watching.